podcast with your amazing hosts. Have a great topic for this morning, and I'm so eager to get into it. I've really been kind of chewing on it, but I'm very interested, man. Zach, you like to share with our listeners what our topic is today?
Are you really the smartest person in the room?
Is that a question to me?
That's a question to everybody.
Okay.
You ever get that, Vaughn?
I'm always the smartest guy.
Man, that is.
Hey.
I just,
Well,
that's a
So the
lie.
topic is: are
but
you the smartest person in the room?
there's so many people out there that always think they're the smartest person in the room, and in
Mhm.
the end, I'm one of those people that I know what I know. I can always learn,
Mhm.
but to state something like oh, this is whatever it may be that you're the smartest. So it was funny because we were having a discussion a while back, and he was like, "Yeah, I got this friend who's always says he knows sound and all this other stuff."
Okay.
And so he starts telling me what this guy installed at his house, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, "Well, is that a good system?" I'm like,
Are
"Well,
you the?
it's good for him."
Mm-hmm.
But he's telling his friends, "Oh, well, this is like, this is the best you can buy."
Yes.
And it's a lot like TVs.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote an article years
Okay.
ago when we were Unison Media talking about TVs, and it was basically because I got tired of the argument, who makes the best TV,
Okay.
right? And at the time, it was Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, no questions asked. You weren't touching Sony.
Yeah.
But people are like, "Oh, well, Samsung looks the same." Great.
Right.
Sure. Hey, have at it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not true. It was not true at the time.
Right.
I mean, but if that's what you got, that's what you got. That's fine. I don't really care. But
Cool.
people always want to have that discussion and act like, well, oh well, this is the best, or this is this, or and it's like, and so we actually started talking, but he's like, I'd love to sit you in front of this guy when he pulls his speakers up and start. But I'm not that guy.
Right.
I really don't care. If you think that's Mafio's fate, well, you don't know his situation.
Okay.
But hey, if that's the best for you, have at it.
Not the
I mean, obviously
situation.
it's changed, but yeah.
Okay. So, and me thinking about that question, that topic: are you the smartest person in the room? I I I think it's a great thing, but I think it's a double-edged sword. And the reason I say that is, if you don't have confidence in yourself, it may be hard for someone to find confidence in you. But at the same time, if it's ego mixed in that, and it comes to a point where you have to prove this or get in situations where you have to prove you're the smartest person, I think it be can be very challenging to someone's happiness in life or
But where does
someone's peace in life.
confidence become arrogance?
I just said
Ooh.
now listen, confidence become arrogance when it's not just inward and it's projected outward. And the reason what I mean by that is, if I feel confident, if I feel smart, if I feel like I can love, if I feel I can, handle a particular task, play a sport well, or something like that, okay, I'm challenging myself from within. But when you start to bring it outward and challenge the world, I think that's when you get into some situations.
So this is, I view this because we're actually fairly good at this
Hmm.
on this show. Knowing our place. When Vaughn's here and we're sitting here talking football, I know enough from a guy who's going to sit in the stands, and I'm going to cheer, and I can know the basics of it. But I'm always, when it comes to football, Vaughn will be the smartest person in the room to me.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, but it's true. I mean, you want to start talking AV, you want to start talking stuff like that, then that's going to be me. We start talking about fiber. What I know about fiber, the things I've done with fiber are minimal compared to what Mafia's done with fiber.
Hmm.
You know, there are things that when you're in a room and you know the people in that room, yes, you may be on a specific subject, you may be, but if you don't listen to everybody and
Hmm.
find out, I mean, I know that because you and I have talked about it. We know that because we've talked to Vaughn.
Mhm.
We've had these discussions,
Mhm.
but people who just walk in a room,
Yes.
I go to CEDIA or I go to CES. I promise you, I am not the smart, and I'm in AV, but I promise you, but you go talk to it's like when you go buy a TV, and let's just say every rep for every brand is there.
Mhm.
They're going to be the smartest person in the room about their brand. They're going to tell you how their brand is better than everybody else's brand. And two dudes are standing right next to each other, and they're like, oh, whatever. And they're sitting. I've actually had it happen with speakers.
Okay.
And two reps that were standing. Oh well, but we do this. Well, we do that too. Well, we do this when we have this frequency response, and we have this, and it's just it's obviously it's salesmen. They're trying to sell their own crap, but
Yes.
I have in many years, I have had so many people that seem to think that they know better, whether it's how you should do things, how you should approach things, relationships, all of that. And to me, if you've been married for 100 years and you sit in front of me, yeah, I got a ton of questions for you.
Okay.
How did you make it work? Of course, if it's 100 years by now, he was slapping her around back in the day. So,
wow, where'd that come from?
I don't know. We were talking, I think it was you and me, we were talking about the greatest. Oh, no, it was me and, was it me and you or me and Vaughn talking about the greatest generation?
Oh.
I don't know if it was about the greatest generation, but
Well, we call the greatest generation, which would be our grandparents. World War II, they came home, they built, they built up the country.
Okay.
And then I was telling Vaughn, I'm like, we call the greatest generation who were some of the most racist, misogynistic people who created Jim Crow, who created all of this stuff, who didn't want women to they wanted them to stay at home and wear a bra. And it's just funny that what they did and how they built the country, sure, you can give them that piece, which we, Vaughn and I were talking about. We have literally thrown the whole thing away, took away the work ethic, and some idiots out there have kept the misogyny and the racism. I mean, why are you getting rid of the best part, the hard working, and keeping all the, but again, I'm not the smartest person in the room with that, because I don't know what you know, and I don't know what Vaughn knows.
Right. And I was just about to say, talking about generations, that ties right into this topic. Like, are you the smartest person in the room?
Right.
Someone's thought perspective of, on a certain topic. Like when you said it to me, I'm thinking my generation was the best generation. And I say that because of hip hop. And I say that because,
but now you're talking about music.
But at the same,
you can take that and say yes.
I'm talking about the contribution to the world.
Yeah, because it crossed over.
Man, it went worldwide, and it was all about peace and building up your community and all this kind of stuff, and stop the violence and dating women.
But remember, during the exact same period, the Garth Brooks literally crossed from country into pop. So it was the same. My point is, it's the same thing. You can say music and think, because you may not like Garth Brooks, but Garth Brooks is part of your generation.
Yeah.
It's where we moved from saying, well, I'm going to stick with my little circle of music, and moved into hip hop, moved in, Garth Brooks crossed over and ended up on freaking #1 in pop charts.
Okay.
It was, you're right. And you could say that in music, because that was a complete generational, you had, you look at the Rolling Stones and they attribute, what's his name? The blues guy that played the record in the hotel or made the record in the hotel.
Jimi Hendrix?
No, Robert, the one who most people, he's the real deal about selling his soul to the devil. It's Robert Johnson.
Okay.
The Rolling Stones attribute Robert Johnson with why they got into music.
Okay.
But then most people don't. I don't know if we want to go into it. If we want to have a music podcast, because I'm going to tell you right now, I was a member of the House of Blues for 10 years. I mean, it was because I love music and how it's changed, and it's funny who takes credit for what. But and again, you can't say you're the smartest person in the room when you're not. I don't know what Vaughn's knowledge is. We've never discussed music. I don't know what yours is.
I'm glad you brought that up. Vaughn, you got anything on that? Because I'm about to go somewhere and I didn't want to leave your comment out.
Oh no, you are.
Okay.
You already know I'm space agent anyway. So
All right.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go hyperspeed. It don't
My
matter
man.
to
You
me.
up there with Vaughn?
But just to
you up
kind of
there
add
with-
on that point, though, I'm a definite music lover,
Mhm.
an arts lover. I love stories and stuff like that. So I would like to, think of myself as being a well rounded person.
Mhm.
But I'm never going to be the best person in the room. For some reason, I think my personality I'm cool with being in the middle on some stuff.
Yeah.
On some stuff, I let somebody else take the lead. You got it.
And the
You
world
got it.
calls
So-
that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The world calls that humility, in some regards. But where I wanted to go with this, because I was thinking about this topic, and I'm thinking about a person that literally thinks they're the smartest person in the world or in the room, right? And so again, always doing self-reflection on myself. I'm thinking to myself, I deal with absolutes most of the time. If it's not absolute, then example, okay, who's the best basketball player of all times? Okay, that's not absolute.
No.
That's so subjective. Okay, so
you and I are going to say Jordan.
whoever we say,
LA people are going to say LeBron
right? So
or Kobe.
right. So again, that's a subjective topic, right? Because it can go either way. But absolute, there's no other way to go. And so what I mean by that is, instead of saying I'm the smartest person in the room, just accept that, okay, if you say you're smart, just be smart. And at the same time,
But that's still subjective. The word smart is subjective.
I agree. I agree.
It is.
But you're not.
We don't want to break that. I mean, you are correct. I mean, we don't want to break that. We don't. But I get. So it's,
at the same time, what I'm saying is, don't project yourself on the world, because that's when it becomes subjective. If you want to be a certain way about yourself, then be that way.
Right. But if you, so let's say just random, there's a topic. We're not going to even name the topic. I may be the smartest person, which I'm never going to think I am, but I may be the smartest person, not on the topic as a whole, but my little piece of it.
I get it.
And you may be the smartest with your little piece, and Vaughn may be the smartest with his little piece, whatever piece that is. The great thing is, collectively, we're going to get more. We're going to gain more knowledge. I'm going to gain knowledge from Vaughn. I'm going to gain knowledge from you. By the time it's all over with, we're the three smartest people in the room.
Right. So
there's only three of us in the room in case people out there are fucking counting. The point was there were three people in the room. We're the three smartest people in the room.
Right.
But by learning from each other.
Yeah. I think for someone to say that they're the smartest person in the room, they're delusional. They're delusional.
But yeah, well, there are some people. I mean, again, it's a subject to be the smartest person in the room. If Neil deGrasse Tyson was in the room, we were talking about space and astronomy, he would be the smartest person in the room. Because I unless y'all know something I don't know. I don't know. I know very little about space, and I watch stuff as much as I possibly can. Dude's freaking awesome. I believe that you do have instances, but it's just I've had so many people try to instill what they think, and it just annoys the crap out of me. It just annoys the crap out of me.
See, and then you take that same example and say this guy is the smartest person in the room, but who else is in the room though?
Right. Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
You got the guys not saying anything, just going.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Well, and I always say there, like we make a recommend. What should we do about XYZ?
Mhm.
And I always wondered, there's somebody out there who has a really good answer, and I don't know why our presidents, they become so narcissistic when they try to get elected, and then when they're elected, Clinton took credit for what Reagan had started, but then Clinton actually did some really great things that in the end Bush started to take, and then 9/11 happened. The economy,
bad stuff too.
yeah, the economy and the recovery from the economy. Obama wanted to take it, yet it was started with Obama, Bush, and McCain. Most people don't. You got to remember that when the economy crashed, Obama and McCain, I think that was, McCain stopped campaigning, went to the White House and met with George W. Bush, and they all came up with a plan because Bush recognized. Huh?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because Bush recognized that, hey, one of these two people is going to be president, so they might want to get them involved in it because it's going to be their presidency. So, although one person always wants to take credit for everything, but then when something bad happens, it's somebody else's fault.
Oh man, your boy Biden, good for that.
What?
That was down.
Biden?
Deflecting blame or taking responsibility.
And he's only taken blame once, and then he did,
and then reverted it though.
Well,
but then reverted it.
He
but
did,
then again,
he did. Biden was like, "Hey, this is, I take full blame for the exit of Afghanistan, but it was his fault. He was, he originally started it. That was the fun. It was like, dude, I would have been 100% with you.
So
if you would have said, man, it's my bad. I messed up."
So contextualizing the topic you were saying about the presidents, the first thing came to mind is a football coach on a team. You know what I'm saying? Each coach inherits this team and says, okay, who's doing it better? Who took over? It's not absolute though. You know what I'm saying? What are you? It's all a game to me, man. The presidents and who took on this and that. And that's part of this delusion in this world that I think is projected on us, and it influences, and we build these ideologies about this is what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to be, and what we're supposed to do, but it takes away from humanity. You know what I'm saying? We can't be individuals no more because you have to be Democrat, Republican. You have to be
Democrat, Republican, or independent. You got choices. You don't have to be either one of them. You can be an independent. Independents don't.
Are those the only three options?
Well,
because I don't.
What else none of them. You want to independent? How do you not? Independent is whatever you want.
I'm indifferent.
Fine. Independent means indifferent. It doesn't matter.
But
we're gonna have that discussion. Okay. We're gonna do a show.
Okay.
And we're introducing you to Mafia the Reminder. That one is gonna be some. That's gonna be some interesting show. Because challenge, but. Independent is literally you don't choose a side, you choose a person. So an independent may vote for a Republican, an independent may vote for a Democrat, an independent may vote for an independent person, but at least
but an indifferent person, and I can only speak for myself.
But if there's no indifferent person up there, then you don't vote. But maybe you get somebody who's running for president who doesn't give a shit, and you're like, well, I don't give a shit, and you'd be like, hey, I don't give a shit either, I'm gonna vote for you.
Wouldn't that make us all independent, though? I mean,
it really does.
the way you described it makes us all sound like that.
It is and it isn't, because there's some people. Those Trumpers out there are Trumpers.
Absolutely.
They are Republicans. That's almost its own party, but they are, they are a part of the Republicans. So yeah, they're not independent. They are straight Republicans. And there are people who, they have, far right Republicans, far left Democrats, and then you have moderate Democrats, moderate Republicans, and then basically, if you take McConaughey's version, we're all the people on the spaceship. The majority of us are the ones on the spaceship. I do encourage y'all to Google that. Some crazy shit.
Yeah.
But talking football.
Can I just respond to what you just said? So the difference between me being indifferent and all those different versions you just gave. So we have government there. Those people that you named, they make an attachment to some form of it.
No, they don't. An independent doesn't.
When I say that, I mean they choose to be involved and attached to some part of it. Me being indifferent, bro, I don't give a fuck about politics and government. And
We'll address
presidents and
that at
all that.
another time because
You know what I'm saying?
that is a whole
So
topic.
with
for
that
me.
being said, I don't even involve myself with it. I play the little game that they
Right,
make the
but-
legislation, and it is what it is. But I just wanted to make
Oh.
that definitive thing of
But
they
see, what I would
attach to
say
it.
next,
I have no interest in attaching to it.
what I would say next is going to be the other podcast.
Okay. All
So
right.
Tom Brady's back.
Oh,
Fucking Tom Brady.
he had to scratch that itch. He got an itch, man. You say living at home.
They're gonna
family
have
life.
that walker out there at some point for that dude. I'm gonna push that walker out there.
Well, they're allowing him to play. I mean, it's not just him. They letting him come back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what guy? You know, most of us we leave because they force us out. You know, but
Okay.
for him to have the open door policy there where he can stick his foot in and out when he gets ready, you know, that makes it a little bit different. So it's just the fact that they didn't push him all the way out the door. We already knew that he had a great chance of coming back.
But they couldn't push him out the door, right? Because he still had money on his contract.
How does that work? Like you retire, you have
You
money
have
in
a 3-year contract, but they just pay. I mean, Vaughn probably knows more about that than I do, but my
I know.
understanding is he still would have gotten paid.
even though he retired.
Well, he never officially retired.
He didn't.
No, because he had to get paid. He still had money. They still owed him money. I don't know. If somebody's watching this knows more, I don't know.
I don't know.
How it works.
I don't know how that works. Like I said, usually most of us get pushed out the door. So it's like, you know, it depends on the way his contract was set up. You know, some of those contracts are back end loaded and nobody ever sees the back end of that money. So and
So
they're voidable too.
So Aaron Rodgers going back to the Packers, right? He's staying.
Absolutely.
They signed him.
But Devontae Adams is refusing to play under the franchise tag.
Is he?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Oh, so he read.
It came out 1 hour ago. Devontae Adams informs Packers he won't play on franchise tag in 2022.
Good for him.
So that's pay me my money.
Yes.
Yeah, they tagged him. They tagged him right after they signed Aaron Rodgers
Of course.
to that huge contract. I don't know if they're going to be able to pay both of them. The way they gave him 153 million, guaranteed. So I don't even know what the cap number is, but they probably be able to do it. You don't have anybody else that's on the roster that's high paid, so yeah, you might be able to do it. You got to think most teams have what? You know, you're going to have a high paid quarterback, and you're going to have one other player that's up in that bracket too.
Okay.
And everybody else, whether they're high or not, is going to, may come close to that, but they're not going to be in that, that upper echelon bracket. So they might be able to give Devontae Adams, a max contract. If not, he can come on to the Raiders.
Nah.
That's what he was talking about going in the first place. But he has to. He doesn't have to play up under that tag, right?
I don't know how that works.
He don't have to play
Isn't
up
that where
under that.
he just sits out a year?
Or does he become a free agent?
Well, it depends on
He
if
has
he's
to
restricted or unrestricted.
Yeah, he has to sit out a year. Like
he must be
running back
restricted.
that went to the Jets from the Steelers or something like that. Who's the guy?
Bell.
Yeah,
Le'Veon Bell.
Just like Le'Veon Bell, he'd have to step out. That's my understanding of it all, is that they'd have to step out for a year.
Right.
So if that's the case, shouldn't Brady have to sit out a year after coming back from retirement?
It's the
Hell
same
no.
team.
He said, "Hell no."
No, it's the same team.
No, it's the same team. And
Okay, stand with it. Okay,
And
so
it
it's just
is
like high
up to
school
the
when you
Packers
transfer.
whether
Okay, I
to
get it.
lock
Yes.
him down and say you can't play. Which
Yeah,
is what the Steelers
because
did to Bell.
restricted.
Okay.
Yeah, because restricted just means that the team has your rights.
Yes.
And you can't pick up and leave as you want to go. So
Gotcha.
if he's a restricted free agent, because he's still a pretty young guy, he's not an old guy. so
Of course.
he's probably restricted.
Yeah.
And where he can't just leave if he wants to. So they probably got him by the balls. Either you're gonna play up under this franchise tag, which says, pay you at the highest of the three people at your position. You're gonna be getting paid that whatever they're making for that season, and
Okay.
be happy with that, or you're gonna sit your ass over here on the sideline. So I think
Okay.
you left with a decision to make there. But I get it. He should be sitting out for a long contract. If they keep calling him the best receiver,
Man,
you know what I mean?
calling him. Look at the production. Look at him, man.
Well, that's what they're saying. He's at the top of a lot of people's list, at least in the top 2 or 3. So,
Mhm.
Who,
yeah.
Devontae?
Oh,
Mhm.
most
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Most definitely.
He
Most
can come on over to the Bears.
Yeah, he don't want to come over there. You don't have a quarterback to throw to him.
Hey, watch your lay.
I think
And we're about to lose. We're most likely going to lose Allen Robinson, our number
What
one.
was that, number 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He is.
I think it'd be good for Devontae, man, just to sit back and stand firm on your choice and your decision. It's kind of like the situation with Kyrie, and that whole
You're talking about
vaccination
serve
thing.
out your contract.
I mean, like,
But he's
no,
dumped his con. Now it's just we don't want to pay you, so we're going to franchise tag you.
Okay, so you franchise tag me, and I'm stuck, then you be stuck because I'm not playing. And then
I'm with
there
you.
it is. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
And I think
The only one I've ever disagreed with that was Ezekiel Elliott. I think
Mm,
he should have gotten locked out. He had 2 years left on his contract. You signed a contract. I get that you have 1 year left, and that's become the new standard, which I disagree with a little bit, but I understand it.
mhm.
But you signed a contract. I am not on the side of owners, but you see they take risks too. They take these first rounds. They pay. I mean, look at the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. Perfect example. Paid him a ton of money, and he ends up being boo boo as shit. And that's a risk you take. That's a gamble. But after
So whose fault is that? But go ahead. I'm
no.
sorry.
I mean, that's part of the NFL's. If you go in the first round, you have to pay. That's part of the union deal. You have to pay X amount of dollars. So, and I'm fine with that. I completely understand. But you have somebody like Zeke Elliott who had 2 years left on his contract and was like, and my understanding of that whole thing is, especially Pollard was lighting it up anyway. He should have just locked Zeke out.
Yeah.
And
But-
Zeke's now number 5 consistently every year. So that's not the money he's being paid.
But understanding the nature of the game with all these contracts and money and all this, I mean, why not? Why not?
Why not what?
You know what I'm saying? Why not test the waters and find your value? That's what it's come down to, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's the business of it. You know what I mean?
I guess the only thing I can say I don't really like about it is the fact that you're breaking some of these contracts so early.
Right. That was my deal.
Yeah, that's the only thing. If you got 2-3 years left on your contract, I don't know how you sit out, that far away, after you agree to a certain part of it. So
yeah, franchise contract, you fulfilled your contract. Your contract's over. We're going to tag you as franchise so you can't go anywhere else.
I get that.
And that I completely disagree with. If, if you served your contract, you're a good man, you fulfilled your responsibilities. I had a contract years ago installing those stupid lottery satellites. It was a nightmare. There were 13 companies that were hired originally. They brought in 2 additional. Within a month, we were the only company left. And the lady called me and she goes, all these people dropped off. Why did you continue doing it?
Mhm.
And I said, because I signed a contract.
Yeah.
Because I committed to you that I was going to do it. Now, they then tried to add more work on to us. And I said, I'm going to tell you what, you are going to pay me more once I fulfill these 300 jobs. Yes. I want more money. Yes. I'm like, but I agreed to do these, 289 jobs for this price.
Yes.
After that, I'm coming for your ass. And I
Right.
did. And,
Right.
and we got paid for the other 200 and something that we did. But it's a matter of fulfilling. Now, if a year before your contract up, if that's the stand, if you know everybody's fine with that, I disagree with it, but I get that it's kind of become a standard in the NFL. With that said, Zeke was the number one for 2 straight years. Jerry should have bonused him like the number one running back for 2 straight years. You know, he should have had that in his contract. If I'm the number one running back, you would give me a bonus to pay me like the number one running back. Zeke probably wouldn't have locked himself out.
Okay. But at the same time, for him to lock himself out, it's allowable. Okay.
Well, it's a
Why
contract.
not?
You can simply just
But
break the contract.
I'm just saying it's allowable. It's the same way as the Devontae Adams on the other end of the spectrum, where the team now can say, "All right, you fulfill your contract, but we still finna put our arm around your neck." You see what I'm saying?
And I
So
agree that whole I don't understand it. I know there's Vaughn may understand it a ton more. I'm not the smartest person in the room when it comes to that.
Me either.
But I don't understand how, if I sign a contract that says I'm going to play 4 years, right?
mhm.
And at the end of that contract, I don't understand how they can turn around and say, "Oh, but we have first right of refusal." Well, fuck you. If you're not going to pay me, why can't I go anywhere else?
Wait, who has first right of refusal? The team?
Well, that's what the franchise tag is. It's basically you can't go
yes,
anywhere
yes,
else.
yes, yes.
I don't understand that. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand that if I fulfill my contract, if you're trying to get people to sign these contracts as rookie and you're taking a risk on them and they're taking a risk on you, but at the end of that contract, it's like being in the military. You know, you sign a 4-year contract, you do your 4 years, you know, you can either re-up or you're out. Why do I have to, you know, it's not like they can come and say, "Oh, but well, you're staying now." Well, that's not how it works. You
But
know,
that is how.
no, it's not.
But that is how. It works.
In the NFL, that's how it's working. And,
Right.
and I don't understand. I don't understand how restricted, unrestricted, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that goes back to dealing with this world, man. It's all unfair and it's all.
I don't want to get into that side of
But
it.
that's what we deal with,
But
man. It's the
we're just
reality.
no, it's
It's the reality, man. You
I don't
play
know what the
certain
reality
games.
and how that's reality in life, but you know, I signed a contract, I fulfilled my contract, I asked for more money. If you know, with those people, if you don't want to pay me more money, then I'm just going to go home. You know, I'm going to stop doing your installs. If you want to pay me more money, you know, we went from $168 an install to $350 an install. You don't want to pay me $350 an install? I'm not going to do it.
Okay, so check this out. Say, for instance, that same contract, the 289 jobs you had, right?
Mhm.
And all the other contracting companies jumped out. Okay. At that time, if you would have been in a capitalistic mentality, you'd have said, "Oh, okay, I'm the only one here and I'm getting paid." And I'm going to throw a round number out there, $168.
Mhm.
You could have said,
You're going to
I-
start paying me and you're going to back pay me for them.
no, not back pay me, but going forward, it's going to be $300 per install.
But I signed a contract that said I would do that install for $168. And I did it. I fulfilled all 289 of them.
Right. And so my point is, when it comes to principles and you know what I'm saying, you stick to the principles.
Honoring your
That's
word.
not what this world is built on, man.
But I did it.
I understand you did it, but
It should be.
I think once we learn the other sides of it, you know, you start to feel like you're being cheated. You know, at some point, you know, in sports, you were allowed to, you know, get a contract and sign a contract, not knowing what other people were receiving because the internet wasn't, you know, present and news wasn't at the, you know, tip of your fingers
Mhm.
where you could find out what people were getting paid. And so you were locked into these contracts, but the owners knew. And, you know, we know that you get paid 4 or 5 times the amount. If you could pay Aaron Rodgers $200 million over what, 3 or 4 years,
for years.
what the hell are you making? You know what I'm saying? At the end
Right.
of the day, you know, and he knows that athletes have taken more of a role in the driver's seat now because we know what we're worth now for to a certain extent, because they was also getting the marketing and licensing money as well.
Who was the player or the
The
owner?
teams were. You
Okay.
make
Why Jim refused to sign jerseys.
Okay.
yeah, they
What I'm saying.
making the money. They're making the money off of us, and they're not giving anything to us.
They do now, though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Right.
He needed to have Ezekiel Elliott on the field because Zeke's jersey is a top 3 selling jersey.
Right.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna go get Zeke. Zeke, what's it that you want? I'm gonna give Zeke what you want because the people want to see Zeke, not no motherfucking Tony Pollard. They want to see Zeke.
Tony Pollard would have kept going. They would have wanted his ass.
Yeah,
He wasn't
right.
flashy.
He's just not there. I'm not saying that he's not a great player, but from a marketing standpoint and a money making standpoint, Zeke was the better choice. So I just know that they can pay the players more. They've been getting over on players all these other years, and players is just like, fuck it, we're gonna pull out these goddamn contracts because you get us stuck in these 5-6 year that's what they were signing rookies to earlier 5-6 year contracts. But that's
actually to go off of that actually brings us into baseball. So because there was a whole deal, they just signed their new agreement.
Really? Okay.
So there was a guy, I don't know who he was, out in Houston. I never really followed baseball that much, but a guy named Bo Porter.
It's more than one Bo.
So he was actually, one of the main things that with baseball, and I heard somebody describe it the other day, and it was a perfect example. Very few baseball players. Some of these guys come out of high school, straight out of high school, they get drafted, and they very few of them actually ever go directly into major leagues. Most of the time they're going to farm leagues, and farm leagues get paid next to nothing to play ball. And then if you're one of the lucky few, you get pulled into the MLB. With that said, you now have, I don't know how many baseball farm teams there are, but there are a lot of them. Now you have a guy who never made it in the major league, made crap money for 5 or 6 years, and you're throwing him out there into the workforce and saying, here you go.
And workforce being the MLB?
No. Into the normal, because very
regular.
rarely of them,
okay.
the amount of them that actually get pulled up is very few.
Okay.
So now you have all these guys with no education, no college, and all they have is high school, and all they've done for the past 4 to 6 years is played baseball in farm leagues. And now there you go. That was actually, so part of their holdout, come to find out, I did not know this, was to get those guys more money.
The farm leagues.
To get the players more money.
Good for the MLB players.
Yeah.
Man. I love it.
It was to get them so that.
I love it.
So Bo Porter actually had a really good idea down in Houston. Yeah.
What was that, Vaughn?
Farm league sounds like slavery.
Oh.
It almost was.
The NFL and the NBA does too. So you want to go there.
So Bo Porter had a brilliant idea. Okay. I thought it was a great idea. So it was tying farm leagues to trade schools.
Okay.
So basically, not just trade schools, but to colleges. So that while they were at whatever the farm league was in Houston, they would still be able to take classes for free from University of Houston or a local college there. And then when they had to go play, they would be able to do that remotely. Or when they were at home, they would be in a single facility where they could either, again, do trade schools or something else. I thought it was a really good idea, because that is a horrible NFL. You go to the draft, you make the team, you're done. Right? You're at least going to have 1 or 2 years. The minimum's, I think, $500,000. Okay. If you're smart about your money, it's not a ton of money, mainly because most people, you got to remember, you got agent fees, you got taxes, you got your NFLPA. I talked to one guy who worked in the front office for a NFL team, or a lady, and she said there is nothing crazier than the first check that these rookies get, and they come in going, I'm supposed to make this. Why is my check this small?
Yeah,
And they have to
because they're not-
explain to them. They like
yes.
every
No
year.
tax bracket.
Yeah. Every year they have a group of guys that all come in, and they actually have offices set up to
Mhm.
show them your agent got this much, the NFLPA got this much, your
Mhm.
IRS got this much, and so got this much, so that they can they literally have to explain their checks.
have
That
to
tax
people.
bracket.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Man, they
Now-
don't understand that.
I do recall, and I don't know if this was something that was in the initial setup of being drafted out of high school for baseball, but back when I was coaching high school football, I had a couple great athletes, couple kids that were great athletes, and they were multi-sport athletes, and two of them actually got drafted to some baseball teams. Now, the thing about it, they got drafted, they played baseball, but at the same time, they were allowed to go to college. Like I want to say that they paid for their college, and that's something I can, probably get in touch with a couple of those kids and see about that. But
No, I have no
know-
doubt that they have opportunities, but just like any opportunity, if you don't have a set system, doing online classes takes a lot of fortitude. I mean, we just saw in the COVID era the drop in how kids were advancing in elementary and
Mhm.
high school and
Mhm.
junior high.
Mhm.
The same thing goes. I mean, it takes a lot of. He was tying his to, we are going to be there. We are going to make sure you're going, and we're going to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do to move forward. Because again, they're 18 years old.
Mhm.
I mean, I do believe that most colleges shouldn't be, as strict as they are in attendance and everything else. But on the other hand, you have an entire generation that just thinks they can skate by. So,
You have an entire generation that thinks
Oh,
they can
yeah.
skate by.
no, just not show up to class and not do this and not do this and drop it so that it doesn't hurt their GPA, rather than completing that's the most ridiculous thing. It's a contract to me. You sign up to take a class and then you drop it because you're failing it so it doesn't mess with your GPA. Oh yeah.
Well,
we
I mean-
more of we more of the clean your plate syndrome era. When you sign up for something, you better not fucking quit.
Yep.
I think we having a tug of war between this generation and our generation.
Well, I chose
So-
I chose the saxophone first, and then halfway through third grade, I was like, "Well, I want to play the trumpet." My dad's like, "Nope, you chose the saxophone. You're playing the saxophone. You're gonna stick with it."
Wow. I would let my child do anything they desire to do, long as it's not in, interfering with their livelihood and their health and society.
But would you let them quit?
I mean, shit. If they're not interested in it, what? I'll give you an example. Where my mind went with that. Like my son,
Come on, Mafia, give it to us.
my youngest son, played AAU basketball, right? For about
Uh-huh.
3, maybe 4 years. And I was spending upward of 10 grand a year on him. Now, he was always one of the better athletes in any gym we went to when it came to skill. But I grew up in the era where I grew up in, where everybody was good where I came from. And that was just the neighborhood I grew up in, not even mentioning the whole world. So I had to really have a conversation with my son about, why are we doing this? Are you planning on going to college, attain a scholarship, or is this just something you like to do? And the reason that conversation came was I was trying to encourage him to invest in his craft, his skills. I was buying all kind of weight vest, plyometric boxes, basketball.
If you're serious about it.
If you're serious about it,
Yeah.
right? And so I had to really tell my son, I cannot invest in your craft more than you. So at this point, I will no longer pay for AAU basketball. If you want to play, go play at high school only. And that's what he did, because
Oh yeah, you're talking about but he still stuck with it. So my example is more like I had three kids that played football in high school. One of them decided he wanted to quit. He was really good in select football.
Mhm.
Went to high school. All they did was lose because they were a tiny little high school,
Mhm.
you know. And so he wanted to quit. And I told him, you're going to finish the season. Right. Then the next season, he wanted to play again.
Mhm.
And then halfway through the season, he wanted to quit.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? You've put a ton of effort into it. I said, you know, play 2 more games and then come to me and we'll talk about it. And he still wanted to do it. So I let him.
Yeah.
Another one went to go play football. He wanted to actually, the other 2 were almost identical. You know, they showed up for camp. They didn't want to play because they were out there practicing, yada yada. I told them they had to wait until 3 weeks into the season.
Okay.
Mainly because I didn't want them to view camp and think that's what football was. I wanted them to see what football actually was, rather than, you know, how many times have you heard the you know, I hated when I first started playing violin or piano. I hated playing the saxophone, but I'm glad that my dad made me stick to it.
Yes.
I do agree that there comes a point to where you have to let them decide, but are they deciding on the fly? Like, I had a bad game, I don't want to play
I
anymore.
get that.
Or are they making a true decision of, hey, you know, I don't want to do this anymore? So yours is different. Yours is, look, you're just going to play high school ball. If you like it, great. But if you're not going to get serious where I'm going to drop, you know, all this money to further you, I'm going to stop doing that. Not, you know, you can play high school basketball and go from
And
there.
that
And
resonates.
that's different.
Both of those resonate with me pretty deeply. You know, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Well, my sons, they stopped playing football. I don't think it was not because they wasn't interested. I think it was just because of how the numbers are set up now. It's just not like it was when when we were in school. You know, you got 100 players on each level. You know, it's like you got 2 JV teams at the same school because you got so many kids.
Right.
Yeah, they got A and B teams.
Okay.
And both of them are loaded. And it's just like, you know, at some point, you know, either your kids are going to be playing or they're not. And it's solely at the discretion of the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
you get kids, if they feel like they're not getting enough playing time. You know, football is not one of those sports where, you know, you could go to the game, you know, and not play the whole damn season and just practice. Because when you go to practice, you out there in those elements, man. It's like,
Mhm.
why the fuck am I out here? It's at some point you're gonna start asking yourself, like, why am I out here? But for basketball, with the controlled environment, you know, the little coochie ass air conditioning, you know what I'm saying, and all that, you know, your kid or somebody can really, you know, ride that little bus for a while. But, you know, football, you're not gonna be, you know, either you're serious or you're not, but you damn sure gonna make a decision real fast. Like, you know what? I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
And my kids made that decision. You know, that kind of went against the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when I started some stuff, you know, my mom and dad wouldn't let me finish either.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, wouldn't let me quit.
Quit. I get it.
Wouldn't let me quit. So when my sons told me they didn't want to play anymore, I understood, because the numbers game was kind of messed up.
Yeah.
So, but they left that and played something else. So,
okay. And I get that. Like, you know, it comes down to interest and knowing your kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, Zach, in your situation, you knew your kids was making a uneducated, I'll say, a uneducated choice, a right now choice, and not looking at the big picture, maybe. And you knew that. So you say, okay, give me this much. You understand what I'm saying? In my son's case, I saw it every day. I saw it his whole life. Like, he was always.
Yeah, but he wasn't trying to quit. For you, it was more about, if I'm going to keep doing this.
Goddamn right. What are we doing this for?
What are we doing this for?
Because if it doesn't lead to anything afterwards, we wasting our time. You can go play basketball for free at the school, rather than me put
Right.
you on the AAU team. I think we got a lot of parents that's doing that. If your kids just really don't have, they don't have sometimes your kids don't have the talent to go to the next level. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And
Mhm.
you'll be dumping your money in these sports for a long time, and you don't see
Long.
nothing that comes out of it. Who
Yes.
gives a shit if you spend all those fucking Saturdays at your kids' games? It's like y'all wasted your fucking time because now he didn't get any fucking better. It was just really just to keep. I guess it's whatever you get out of it. But for
Yeah.
me, man, I'm not going to sit the fuck out there if you're not serious. It's like we wasting our goddamn time. To me,
Yep.
You know the
to me.
bottom line to my decision. And it was a great growth point because I didn't like just cut my son off and throw him out to the wolves. It was a very pivotal point where I said, son, you're either going to be an asset or you're going to be a liability. If you're not going to invest in yourself and go forward and have a purpose in what we're doing, you're a liability. That means we're throwing money away.
Right.
And so I bought the book, Robert Kiyosaki, for both of my sons at that time and taught them about assets and liabilities. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and now that he was 6 years later, I mean, the way he managed money, his financial personality, the way he, the things he desires versus priorities. Like he pays rent. Like, when I first instituted, this what you about to do, man. He'll pay the rent on the 3rd, 5th. Now, I don't even have to think about it coming on the 27th, the 28th, and I don't want the rent. You know what I'm saying? That's going towards him when he get an apartment.
Oh
You
no,
know,
I charge.
and
Once
so
the kids got to a certain
yeah,
age, well,
What age
I
was
take
that?
that back. The way it worked for me is, if you're going to go to school, that's a different story. But if you're, just wanting, one of them he was working for me. His rent was tied into his pay,
mhm,
which means I wouldn't pay him a ton of money. When he decided he didn't want to work with me, I said, it was fine. You're going to pay rent.
okay,
I mean, I paid for their cell phone bill, car insurance, electric bill, water bill, all those things. And it wasn't a ton of money. It was like $700 a month.
yeah,
But, I'll pay for your stuff. But they're and one of them did the math when he was moving out. He goes, man, it's expensive. And I'm like, yes, it is expensive. And I've been
yes,
paying
sir.
it for all this time. Oh man,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to get I'm gonna have to get another job. I'm like, that's the point.
Oh,
You got to understand. But I'm 100%. Like if they were in school, their rent was like $300. It was next to nothing
okay.
because you need to work. You need to go to school. You don't have to work a ton to pay $300
Is this
a
high
month.
school or college?
We're talking about college. Yeah,
College,
once
okay.
you're high school is a different story.
Okay.
But but when you're not in college, then you have to ramp up. You should be working. I mean, when you turn 18 years old, summers are gone.
Ain't no such thing as taking off.
That's right.
Man,
Look.
Unless you're a teacher.
Mhm.
Right.
But there's no such thing as summer anymore. Your summers are
Yeah.
gone. You don't get me wrong, just like any of us, we all take vacations and we do things. You talk to your work and say, hey, I'm going to take a week, and you can go to Padre Island or do whatever you have, your spring break, which a lot of kids are on now. You have those where it's during the school year, that whole, nobody's expecting you to do anything, but you have to teach kids, you have to teach them responsibility, that there is a cost for things.
Yes.
So we got a little out of there, but the point with you, there's a cost to me keeping you in this. But if you're not, seeking to go to the NBA, your ass needs to go to the free high school.
And I
absolutely, there we go.
And I wasn't even saying an NBA. I mean, at least try to get a college scholarship
to school
for free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look, you say you want to go to college. You're doing something that can afford you, if not the whole tuition paid, partial of it. Because guess who has to pay that tuition if you don't get a scholarship?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, and this girl who just won the gold medal, Her dad built her a freaking whatchamacallit beam in the backyard, a balancing beam. Honey, now if you're not serious about this, then I'm not gonna go spend all this money on this balancing beam for the backyard. But if you're serious about it, I'll build it. That's the same conversation.
Same concept. Same concept.
I'll build you a basketball court in the backyard, but you better be
And
making
I think
it somewhere.
it just connects to what we kind of, Mafia was kind of hitting on way earlier in the show when he was talking about the game, teaching your kids the game.
Yeah.
This world is a game for a lot of us, and so even when we're talking about politics, Democratic and Republican, some of us that shit's so far away from what we live on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
It's like we don't even give a shit about that, or feel included in it. It's like, who the fuck are you talking to? At the end of the day, I think they do what the fuck they want to do anyway. And we're just pawns around this motherfucker. That's what it feels like a lot of times. But even in that ideology, there is a game to be played, and you have to play the game right. And so, connected to what we was just talking about, it's like we wasted time if you're not going to be fucking serious about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're going to have bills that you're going to have to pay. I'm not paying for you, at a certain point, and understanding how you can use sports to pay for school is important. It's like some kids don't get that. It's like, do you understand that you have to be a student first before you're an athlete, and you got to pay to go to school. And if you're going to be bullshitting around and you're not serious about what you're doing, we can start working on you a damn trade or something. Because going to school not cheap. It's just not. It's not for you to go to school, and then we got people that you're paying for to go to school. Then they change their fucking mind.
Yep.
Nah, you know what? You're gonna change your mind on your bill. That's what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes down to like, knowing your kids and being able to build that responsibility and accountability. You've been around them their whole life. You know their personality. And I knew my son. You know what I'm saying? I knew him very well. I knew the relationship he had with his mom, and the young kids call it nowadays finessing.
Man,
and what that is,
a soft relationship, ain't it?
Man, look here.
Cushy.
Man, he would finesse his mom. He would finesse his teachers. And what I mean by that is, and this was both of my sons, they will bullshit the whole year in a semester in school, right? The last 2 weeks, they'll go to their teacher, they'll get all the assignments. The teacher will allow them to turn this damn work in and get credit, and they get a B at the class.
But you know where that came from, right? It came from your boy Bush, right?
What's that?
No
child left behind.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No child left behind rule. It completely took away accountability to a certain extent, where you can set deadlines and all you fucking want to. You still had to give people a chance to make up work or whatever. They have the opportunity to pass is there. I don't give a damn if you wait 2 hours before grades are set in, and so that makes me think, what does that teach a young person going into the real world where you get fired, at the drop of the hat, in some
go begging like a bitch to get your job back.
Yeah.
Because you was on your phone when they said no phones allowed in this building, but just because you got caught, well, everybody else got their phone. I'm not talking about it.
We ain't talking about everybody else.
But again, that builds that responsibility and accountability at a very young age. And you think about today's society, man, we want to point about all these outer influences and what the whole world doing and never take personal responsibility for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That go back to the conversation we were talking about, smartest person in the room. Bro, if you want to be the smartest person in the room, smartest person.
Audio out.
People. You understand what I'm saying? I've never seen government in no part of my life be for me. And so that's why I have this disconnect with government and all this stuff. But again, I abide by the laws they make to the best of my ability. I do everything I know that I have to do to not disrupt the system. You understand what I'm saying? From my perspective. And whatever y'all gonna do, they gonna do. Cause like, you talk about, well, we can get people out there to vote. Bro, we done got people out there to vote. You know what I'm saying? We done had people and get million man marches and doing all this shit. That game ain't gonna change. They done structured this country off the way that game worked. And it's very important. It's
but
very
that's
important.
like saying it never.
It's
Slavery was around, but it changed. Women couldn't be allowed to vote, but it changed.
They remixed it.
No, they changed.
They remixed it. They call it the NFL.
So
they call it the NBA. They call it employment.
You keep remixing it, but to give up on something that you're see, this is a conversation.
And
we gonna hold up on that because your idea is just you're basically saying, well, just quit.
And that's just my personality. I mean, my perspective. And I'm not saying just quit, but I can't be involved.
But you're saying you quit. You're out. I'm done. I'm out. I quit. I don't care.
No, I don't think he's saying that. I'm just saying.
That is. If you have a job and you decide not to be a part of it, what does that mean? You quit the job. I decided not to be a part of that job. You can't just not be a part of a job and think you have a job. The same thing goes with anything we do. We can't say, well, I don't want to be a part of it. You are a part, and whether you like it or not. When you drive down the street, when you walk out a door, no matter what you do, and as shitty as it is, we sit here and complain about Joe Biden, Donald Trump, George W. Bush, all that shit, how shitty they are, how they say one thing in a campaign. I mean, all of them, every fucking one of them. They say one thing in a campaign and they do something else, they do something else. You can't just say, I quit, because no matter what, whether you like it or not, you are a part of it. But this is a Mafio the Reminder thing we need to do. So we gonna hold off on this shit because I got Mafia. You want a loud conversation? You want to hear some shit going back and forth? We are going to do Getting to Know, because there are some things I do want to know about Mafio's side and what he does and outside of that. But I promise you, the last 30-40 minutes of that shit is gonna be on.
Oh, please tune in. I'm so ready.
So we thank you guys, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, because it's not going to be a battle. It's just going to be a conversation.
We'll be fine afterwards, but still, we got to have.
Woo!
All right, man. We hit our hour here, guys.
We hit our hour. Oh man, we was having a blast. Time went by fast.
All right, guys.
Who is that?
That's Terrell.
T-Dub. What's up, T-Dub?
We're out of here.
All right.
We appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you on Friday.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Friday's our next one.
Let them know how they can find us on the different
platforms.
The deal now. It's on the deal.
Yeah, it's on the deal now. On all the major.
On Facebook and YouTube and Twitter.
Yes. Yeah.
On most of the social media outlets.
Yeah. And again, thanks for joining us. Please come back, like, share, tell your friends about us. And again, if you have a topic and you'd like for us to discuss, please share that with us as well.
And you can participate when we have that topic.
Yes, please. Please.
All right, guys.
Till next time.